So drawing this digitally is, just as difficult as drawing traditionally. Often I actually find it easier drawing line work using just plain pencils and pens. Even with a Cintiq, there's a bit of parallax between the line and the actual pen that you're using. There's always a nice precision that you can get with just paper, and also that texture quality is always great. And the thing about traditional media is it translates really easily to digital media. And all the lessons you learn traditionally, it just easily applies. So for those of you that feel like, it's really intimidating to use Photoshop or any kind of digital media, it's really an easy learning process in terms of just learning the tool. Might take a couple of weeks to learn the ins and outs. But the main thing is drawing, and that's, we're learning how to break things down. We're learning some design aspects, and those are things that take a lot of time and practice, even more than just learning a program. From here, I'm just double checking my composition as a whole. I'm constantly looking at my thumbnail. If I was doing this, let's say a full on digital painting or an environment piece of some sort, I would actually be zooming in and out quite a bit. But I'm keeping it this size just so it relates to just drawing traditionally. But if you are drawing traditionally, I would advise to stand back away from it as far as you can so you can prop your sketch on a table or a chair and just go around maybe 20 feet away from your picture just so you can see your overall placement. You want to see if it's really close to your thumbnail sketch and that you're getting the proportions correct. So a lot of things I'll be checking will be how well you guys are drawing through the forms, measuring out your angles, checking for placement, and also just the overall design quality of your choices that you're making. Whether, especially if you crop your images, kind of see the balance here and there. Okay, so from here, I'm gonna lower the opacity of the block-in layer. If you're using traditional media, again, you could use a second piece of tracing paper on top of your existing drawing. That way you can practice on line work. Now that everything's blocked in, I'm going to focus on the objects um, that we can actually see. So I'm marking off the ends of the ellipse, and I'm blocking in the cube. For those of you using Photoshop or a similar digital media, just stick to round brushes for now. Don't get too fancy with texture brushes. Just stick with very default brushes for drawing, because we don't want the medium to fight against us. You want to mimic, some, things that are close to pen and pencil. What you'll see me doing here is implementing a lot of the exercises from week 1, making straight lines and curves, trying to get them in as few strokes as I can. And if I miss, I'll just quickly erase it. For those of you that are very comfortable with varying your line widths, you could do that as well. So you could think about thick to thin lines and not just one uniform line. If you've already taken a dynamic sketching course, that's something that we emphasize in that class. Now, a lot of it just has to do with making overlaps read, making things feel like there's more depth by just pure line work. So this image was done in real time, and just thinking about, again, starting with a composition all the way to a rough placement of the objects themselves, implementing all the steps, and then really taking my time just refining the line work with the next overall layer. As usual, just double check your work. Make sure it's where you are happy with it in terms of placement, line quality, proportion, composition. So you see me here turning off the layers just so I can double check the final outlook of this image. So for homework on this last part, I just want to see at least 3 thumbnails and 1 finished line work of your chosen image and still life. So I hope you learned quite a bit from this demonstration as I walked you through it. And again, feel free to do this either traditionally or digitally.